folks, welcome to the channel, Thinking Theology. I'm Don. I don't take dogmatic stances on things. I just listen to arguments and I see if they're sort of fairly well made or not. So this one is, I saw the title and I said, I got to do this. Rabbi Tovia Singer, angry Christian pastor, I guess, calls in and asks him a question of some sort. So we're going to find out what that is. I don't know if I'll make it through the whole video or not, but then I'll just share some of my thoughts on what I see. I like Tovia. I like Rabbi Singer. You know, whether you agree with what he says or not, my thing in life is I generally like nice people, kind people, regardless of their politics, regardless of their religion, lack thereof, or what have you. If somebody's kind, like I know what my beliefs, I've got beliefs, I've got doubts, I'm comfortable in my own mind in that regard. And if you make a better argument than me about a given thing that we're talking about, whether it's sports, whether it's theology, whatever, I'll adopt yours. I don't care who you are, how young, old, race, religion, whatever. If you're making more sense than me, I'm on board with it. But let's find out how this goes. Oh yeah, angry Christian calls Rabbi Tovia Singer a chicken. All right, let's see how this goes.
Name's Mark from Winlock. Tovia, answer this question. What would you do if you died and found yourself in front of Jesus Christ at the great white throne judgment? What will you do? Come on now. Don't be a chicken. Answer the question.
Am I going to ask you, well, what happens if...
Why would he be, I got to say, I've watched Tovia before. Why would he be a chicken? I mean, anybody can answer that question. Obviously, it's a hypothetical. For some people, it's very real. This is going to happen. But anyway, come on up. Don't be a chicken. I've never seen him back out of a question ever.
If you die and you meet Hare Krishna or you meet Bugs Bunny, that's not your claim. That's not your argument, you see. But I concede that that's the only thing you're left with. The only thing you're left with is something that's unfalsifiable. And what happens if you meet Joseph Smith? Well, you go, I'm not gonna. You are really highlighting in an awkward way what the Jews have been crying out to the church for a very long time. 365 prophecies in the Hebrew Bible, all pointing to Jesus. It's just simple math. 365 times 0 equals 0. And therefore, what you're doing is you're arguing like a Roman Catholic, you're arguing like a Mormon, you're arguing like a Hindu, you're arguing like someone who might believe in Thor. You're using the only argument that a defender of a false religion could employ, one that is unfalsifiable, the weakest type of argument possible. So what you do is you make very strong claims that the Hebrew Bible is loaded with prophecies. It's not that Jesus is inferred from the Jewish scriptures. Oh no, that's not good enough. It's clearly there. Paul even makes the case that there is a veil over the eyes of the Jew, scales over his eyes. 2 Corinthians. He just
see through a glass darkly.
We find that idea also in the Gospels, that Jesus was speaking in a way that no one can understand. So what you're doing is you are advertising with that insightful question. You're advertising that everything that I've said is correct. I couldn't, if that's all you can do in a 30-second question, I couldn't possibly have made a better case that the claims of the church are completely fatuous. And the only thing you can do is ask the question, well, what happens if Bugs Bunny is a real historical character, right? Well, that's not your claim, is it? And when I say your claim, I mean the church's claim. And again, I'm not straw manning this. I'm steel manning this.
Pause here. Yeah, I mean, I understand his point, and it's a point well taken. I'm not sure I would have answered it the way he's answering it, but obviously he comes from a very strong Orthodox Jewish background. I don't know if he would classify himself in such a manner, but sure, I mean, you could posit any question. What would happen if, okay, and these are hypotheticals for many people. Like, my response would be, because based on my work, I used to believe, with this pastor or a gentleman who called in and asked Tovia the question, I used to believe that as well. But I do extensive research, and I rewrote the New Testament in my own words, looking to prove a certain thing, and it actually proved the opposite when I delved into the text. It took a year and a half to rewrite the New Testament in my own words, and I very uncomfortably saw that a very basic premise that I've been operating on, the premise that the Bible is the Word of God, including the New Testament, and that it's infallible and it fits like a hand in a glove and all that, that I'd seen that the people repeatedly said that they were giving their account of what had happened, of what had gone on. No different than no different than any writer in any period would write about a given event, whether it's Tiananmen Square or you pick your thing, the fall of Rome, anywhere. I mean, what's going on in Gaza and Israel now? People write their accounts, and and it doesn't mean that those accounts are wrong, but it does change the narrative. It just does change the sense of how it's written. So for me, the idea that, okay, and I do contemplate this, what if the accounts in the New Testament are right? Okay, it doesn't scare me into believing it, but it makes me think, okay, let's say it does happen, that there is a judgment throne, Jesus is there, and you're giving an account. I'll have to give an account. But my account is what I would say right now. I wouldn't make anything up. I would say, look, here's what I had to work with, and based on the way my mind is structured, I was willing to believe whatever made the most sense to me, and that's what I think I did. And Tovia uses examples like Thor and Bugs Bunny and all that stuff, and when you use lines of thinking like that, you might lose people, but fair enough. I mean, people come at him pretty hard, and he's equipped with it. I mean, he has his responses for it, and he's using Sir Karl Popper's language here. It's philosophical thinking, and I happen to be not a devotee, but I agree with this way. When you make a statement that is unfalsifiable, and Karl Popper was a philosopher of science, and he posited what constitutes legitimate science. And it wasn't that you could verify something, it's that you could construct an experiment to falsify it, to possibly prove it not true. In a sense, Nicholas Nassim Taleb has sort of taken off on that idea in his book Black Swan and Anti-Fragile and such, that he said, you can't prove anything. And it's the Black Swan idea is that, okay, the idea is that all swans are white. So you've seen 10 million swans, they were all white. But the claim that all swans are white can be disproved by one instance. The very next swan you see, if it's a black swan, or a blue or green or red swan, or any non-white swan, it disproves your whole idea that all swans are white. So, in that sense, you cannot 100% verify something because we're relying on observation. But you can disprove, something can be disproved. An entire body of work, Einstein's theory of the speed of light could be disproved by observing a galaxy traveling faster than the speed of light, which is actually James Webb Space Telescope seems to be discovering that with regularity. So it throws that idea into chaos. So with what Rabbi Tovia Singer is saying here, I get it. I mean, it doesn't scare him. It wouldn't scare a man of his faith into believing that Jesus is real. You still need something more reliable than what the pastor posited. Yeah, and Tovia says, look, the Hebrew Bible does not support your notion. 365 prophecies times 0, meaning none of which apply to your Jesus, apply to Jesus Christ himself. So Jesus wouldn't be the Messiah in this case. So no, I don't believe there's going to be this judgment with this man, Jesus, judging me. Fair enough. And he did say, brought in other religions. He brought in cartoons, movies, movie characters and such that might resonate with the Christian, the pastor, I think, who called in and posited the question. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where you're going to make a claim, you're going to make a statement. You probably want to come with a little bit more of that. Yeah, I mean, some outcomes will be not the way we expected. But one of the things I've said this many times, that one of the unfortunate parts of being a human being, with faith or without faith, regardless, our brain has grown. If you're an evolutionary biologist, this is what you would believe. Our brains have grown over eons, large enough, and we can construct other ideas, abstract thinking, as it were. And one of the unfortunate parts of the package of faith or not is we have to die to find out. Pretty much that simple. 2,000 years since Christ lived and died, people say he rose from the dead. That's generally one of the big debates between people. Trinitarian dogma is another one, which I find to be absurd. But all that said, you guys can leave your thoughts. I get it's just one of these things. If you're going to call in, I get wanting to make a point. I get disagreeing with anybody with a different viewpoint than yours, whether religion or politics or social stuff, sports, whatever. But you might want to come with a little more than that, because he's going to come equipped. He always does. Agree or disagree, he does come with good reasoning. He comes with meat behind what he says. Now, you may think it's rotten meat, but he's still got something he comes with. So I like him. What can I say? I like the way he argues. I do. It's not always my style. I'm a bit more maybe conciliatory in ways, but hey, I'm a middle boy between two girls. So what can I say? I learned how to get along. All right, guys, that'll do it. Have a great day. See you on another video, and keep thinking theology.